also, we have a couple of legislators that will speak during the night as well. We are here to unify, educate, and empower. We want everyone here to become a force multiplier when they leave here.
Woohoo!
With that, give a warm welcome to Christina.
Hey, Christina! Woo woo!
Alright, so
She's a rock
I'm just
star.
gonna get right into it. I have a bunch of slides. There's a lot. I go really fast. I want you to learn as much as you can in a short period of time. So let's just get started. This is our Facebook page, and this is our cover photo here, and we're going to take a look at that in a moment. If you're interested in joining our group to learn more, there is tons of information on there, and we get like 50 to 100 posts a day from our members. So if you're interested, click on that QR, and there's some pamphlets in the front of the room. So the meeting tonight is going to go. Tim is the coordinator. Thank you, Mr. Pappas, Patricia Beaumont, and Kathleen Sullivan, who's outside. She's the best presentation organizer ever. I'm going to quickly go through what is actually happening with Equinor in the most informative way. And then Kelly Martinson's going to, any of the elected officials who very generously gave their time to be here will have a moment to speak if they want to. If not, we'll just go forward. And Kelly Martinson is going to do a brief presentation on high voltage cables. It's important that she does this because she has the background to support the statements that she makes. And then I'm going to finish off with a little bit of national security, the cost, the marine life, and the ocean ecosystem impacts. We can have a Q&A at the end if you want to, but if you don't, there are about 10 people in this room that are really educated about everything Equinor, and we'll stick around and have one-on-one Q&As with anybody who'd like to speak with us. So who we are. We are people who are very passionate about the beach. We've all purchased property here, raising our children here, because we love this peaceful environment. We are stewards of the planet and the ocean, and we don't want that to change. We're parents raising children, we're taxpayers, we're people who do a lot of charity work and give to our communities. I'm a local photographer, giving a lot of time to this, so if you want photos, I'm a portrait photographer. I'm a business owner, so is my husband, and we just want to conserve our environment. So it all started back in February when I got this letter from Equinor. This letter says right here that they're going to be running 3 high voltage cables right in front of my home, and then go to the Oceanside Barrett plant, where they will then outsource the electricity to the national grid. I thought I was being an alarmist, and I was like, this sounds really suspicious, what should we do? Island Park was having a presentation, so we decided to go there, and once you learn a little bit about what's happening, and then you dive down the rabbit hole, you can't unsee it. So I did, and here's some things that I learned. Equinor is a company that the government of Norway owns. The government of Norway owns 67% of the company of Equinor, and the other 30% is public. It's public. They're going to be, so I saw this graph and I thought, wow, that's pretty colorful and also very misleading. It's painted in a way that it doesn't look very aggressive at all, but if you really think about what's here, it's a little bit alarming. This right here is going to be Equinor 1. That is about 50 turbines, and I'm saying approximately, so it's close. And then ours is Equinor 2, which is this yellow one here, and that's going to route their wires through Long Beach. Behind there, so that's 200 for Equinor. Equinor also has over here Beacon Wind, and they're going to be routing that through here into Astoria. And then we just found out recently that Hudson North just purchased this 679 turbines that will go behind Empire 1 and Empire 2. And then there are some other projects in the works. The fairways, if you total just this area here, there will be 2,277 wind turbines directly off the shore, the south shore of Long Island. So as Atlantic Beachers, if there are a lot of people here from Atlantic Beach, and I hope there is, I think it's really important for you to know that Equinor has only been speaking to us about Empire 2. Empire 2 starts at 14 miles and goes to 20 miles out into the ocean, whereas Empire 1 is substantially closer, and being to the west of Long Beach, you'll get a bigger visual of Empire 1 probably than you will of Empire 2. If you look at this entire map, you'll see that it will total about 5,500 turbines in our ocean. So that's something we need to think about if we're all ready to industrialize our ocean.
Not me.
Just a close-up, I just wanted to show you like an even bigger picture of what's actually going to be here. So Empire 1 and 2 is 20 to 30 times the size of Long Beach and 1/4 the size of Nassau County, just to give you a little perspective on the size of this project. It's about 120,000 acres of the ocean that it will consume. So this is just a picture of, and most of these slides are taken directly from Equinor's site and the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and NOAA. So most of the slides that look like this are directly from their public paperwork. So
That's
it's not
Oceanside.
made up. I'll tell you the stuff I made up. Because there are some things that I made. So these were some of the routes that they were considering. At one point, Empire 1 and 2 were going to be shoved in through Long Beach, but Empire 1 is now going around and coming up to the left here into Brooklyn, but Empire 2 will still be coming into Long Beach. This is just to show you where Empire 2 has now changed the route to, but these cables will be coming in here. After I went to the Island Park meeting, then I came to here. There was another Equinor meeting where the representatives, Jennifer DuPont and Susan Lynn, I know them by their names now, came here and did a presentation, and they explained some of the, some of what's going on, and the audience had a moment to ask, Q&As, and we asked, why didn't you go through Long Beach? I mean, through Jones Beach, or maybe through Lido Beach, where there was, and I can tell you about Long Beach, Jones Beach. Well, there's another project headed there that's called Juno, and originally it was called Ann Barrack, and Ann Barrack project said that they didn't want to go through Long Beach because it was a densely populated recreational and residential area. So they turned Long Beach away. So we're not entirely sure why Equinor thinks it's appropriate to run the cables through our city. And then this was another alternative to go around Point Lookout and then go over into the Shell Creek area, the Pops or Leota site, and then off to the Barrett plant. And these other routes were all things that were being considered. So what these cables are, it's about 350,000 volts of electric current running through our densely populated residential area. I was on a phone call with them in the 8-hour Q&A Article 7 phone call, and I said to them, what does that even mean? Am I in danger? Is my family in danger? Like, what does that mean to people who live here? And they said, oh, it's just like a toaster oven or a hairdryer. And those were the exact examples they gave. They gave those same exact examples in this room. And then I said, well, a toaster oven's 220 volts. This is 350,000. I don't run my toaster oven 24 hours, 7 days a week, and I don't stand on top of it. So I don't want to talk too much about electrical current, but this was alarming to me that they compared this figure to a toaster oven. This is the actual route that is going to be happening. It's going to be beaching on Riverside Boulevard, and then it's going to go under the boardwalk, and then it's going to make a right onto East Broadway. It's then going to go up Lincoln Boulevard, and then a left on East Harrison, under the Long Beach Bridge, through the North Park area, and then over to Island Park, where it will go to the POP substation, which we'll talk about in a minute. So that's the exact route. Also, consideration is that we live in what's called Hurricane Alley. There's a special area between New Jersey and Long Island that's called Hurricane Alley. And we've had hurricanes here. We've had Henry, we've had Andrea, we had Gloria, we had Irene. And these Sandy, of course. But that wasn't really a hurricane. Wasn't that more like storm surge? But anyway, yes. Anyway, these turbines cannot withstand anything over Category 2. They'll have trouble in Category 2. They'll go down in anything further than. So why is this here? Why did they come here? Because our Senator Todd Kaminsky and Mike McGinty, this is the letter that they both signed asking Equinor to bring their cables here so they can use the E.F. Barrett plant for a generation station in Island Park. So while this company was actually going to go around our community, they invited it here because they believe that this could be a source of revenue and to offset some of the taxes in Island Park and Long Beach. And you know, it's a known fact that Long Beach is typically fiscally challenged. So that's who brought it here. So this is just a slide about the general process. This has been going on since 2017. This is when they got their lease. They began surveying. They have their federal permits. They've leased the property from BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. And right now we are, so this is where Article 7 submission begins. And this is about the time when they were supposed to be alerting the public and the residents on the process of Article 7. Did anybody get anything in the mail about how to navigate Article 7? I didn't get that either, so just checking. And nobody in any of the other lectures has received that mail. And then right now we're here, we're in the Article 7 submission. And after this gets approved, if it does get approved, they will then get their federal state permits, and then they'll start negotiating with the municipalities about ordinances and things like that, and then they'll start construction and fabrication. So this is pretty alarming. And there are many people who are in this room and in Long Beach who are actually part of the Article 7 process. It's not easy to navigate. It looks like it's, you know, fairly easy. You just kind of click on the button and sign up. But then they send you hundreds and honestly thousands of pieces of paper. And they say you don't need to have a lawyer, but none of us who have jobs and kids has time to go through all that paperwork. So currently a group of about 10 of us are what do you call it when you hire a lawyer? Retaining a lawyer service so that they can start giving us guidance, and not just for ourselves, but for the group of 3,700, actually 3,900 now, that are interested parties. So we'll be keeping you updated on all of that on our Facebook page. So this is just another way of laying out the map that you just saw. Right now we are in this is the part here where they say they're supposed to at least once a week alert the public. None of that ever happened, or none that we can remember. So we're down here in the Article 7 phase, and once this gets done, once they go up, they won't be coming down. So this is just a more encompassing map, again, through Long Beach, through Island Park. This is the substation at POPs, and then there's another substation here over in the Leota plant, and it's debatable whether or not they're even going to use Barrett at this time. There's a lot of discussions, but originally it was going up to the Barrett plant, which is where they would then send the electricity onto the national grid. Equinor has acquired a lot of land in Island Park, POPs, the marina, the car dump, that's the Leota plant, and some storage, $35 billion. Hampton Road, also in Island Park, they've spent approximately $65 million on just property. From what I understand, Railroad Place is one of those places that are in the mix, a possibility of stopping it if they don't sell that property. I don't really understand get transferred, whether the mayor does it or the town or the council, so it's something we can look into. This is just an illustration of what an actual cable looks like. It's all copper on the inside, and then it has these layers of sheathing and foil and swelling tape. A lot of people ask about what they look like. That's it. There'll be 3 of them. I think they have recently adjusted that to 2 instead of 3 smaller ones. There'll be 2 larger ones inside of a larger encasing. And this is what it would actually look like. So this is what the large encasing would look like. And I just want to call your attention to the image here. If they beach this on Riverside, there'll be hundreds and hundreds of feet to the right and to the left, about 900 feet, where they'll be dredging, they'll be pounding pylons into the ocean, they'll be digging holes. And there's also a little concern about the Lloyd's Aquifer. I'm trying to do some research on, because they keep saying how they dig so deep down below the seabed that it's not going to bother us in hydro drilling. But I'm concerned about the aquifer. Todd Kaminsky was here a couple of years ago telling us how delicate it is. So that's definitely something we should check out before measures are taken to move forward with construction. So this is just an overhead of what, the amount of area they might take from our beach parkland. So when we were at these meetings, we've asked them time and time again, have you done this in a highly populated residential area? And they say, oh yeah, we have. As a matter of fact, we did the South Fork, and this is an article that we found in the Newsday, and this is what they're using for a comparison. Notice they have a 3-foot trench. Our trench will be 6 feet. And then next to it is the Long Island Road, and then there is a little forest, and I don't know what's behind there, but it doesn't look like our landscape. That's just another picture closer, just so that you get a better idea of what's around that. So then they also said, well, we did it in East Hampton, in the Wainscott area. So this is Georgia Pond. This is kind of an overhead. There's about, I think the entire population of this area is 650 people, 650, not 6,000, 650. And this is what they were using as a comparison for Long Beach. This is just another overhead to show you that I'm not making stuff up. We just Google mapped all of this stuff. And this is Long Beach. I mean, like, I don't understand how they can use this as a comparison. This right here is Lincoln Boulevard here, and, well, I'll just go to the next slide, because I can. So this is my house right here, this blue house. Some of you might know with the American flag. This is East Broadway, and right here is where they want to dig their trenches. My door is right here. So that's just feet from our homes. This will be running through the homes of all of Broadway, and this is Chris's house right here, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then over here, this is also, it's going to be coming up here, going down Broadway, and this is Lincoln Boulevard over here. It's going to be making this this left. And this is more residential areas, and they'll be digging the trenches on this side of the street. So this is something important that is not being spoken about. They aren't talking about any of this in the Equinor meetings. This is what's called a joint bay. This, again, is my house right here, and this is Chris's house. Chris's plot is 60 feet by 100. This joint bay is 50 feet long, 20 feet wide, and 10 feet deep. When I asked them at the Equinor meeting what that is, they said they have to splice the cable and put it together because it doesn't run that long. You can't have a long cable. So my question is, if they're protecting us from the EMFs and they're splicing cables, will EMFs be coming up and accumulating in our environment? And also, why do they need such a big space? What's going on in there? Will people be going in and out of there? It is underground, but we don't know what the purpose of these joint bays are. And then look at these little black dots here. These are all manholes. Again, if you're protecting us from the EMFs, why are the manholes there? Will EMFs be coming up out of those manholes? And then this is up Lincoln Boulevard. More manholes, another joint bay, not as large as the other one. more manholes. And then when you get to the end of Lincoln Boulevard, it's going to take that left onto East Harrison, and then I just wanted to show you how it's going to go under the bridge and then across over here. And that area right there is Railroad Place, and that's one of those places that are disputable whether it can be sold or not. And Island Park, so that was 2 joint bays. There's 3, 4, there's another 6 joint bays. And this is just overhead maps of where these wires are going to be running, and notice how close they are to all of the residential homes. Some of these homes are literally going to be getting their backyards dug up. There's another one, residential homes, more joint bays, more construction. So note, when I talked about the joint bays, I said to them, you know, why would you have to have this joint bay and this cutting of the wire and splicing? And they said because the wire, it only goes so long, you can't extend it that far. So why is there beacon wind going 170 miles without a joint bay or a manhole or splicing all the way to an Astoria? If they can do 170 miles, why do they have to, why are they even going through here at all? Why aren't they just going around? So this is what I call one of my social injustice slides. These were done by our beautiful research team. They all know who they are, and I love them, and I thank them for doing all this research work. So here we have Montauk. This is what's planned, 12 turbines, 35 miles off of shore. We have in Nantucket, 159 turbines, which I think is just proposed, also 60 miles off of shore, and then 30 miles off of shore. And for us, we get 14 miles and 200. So I'm wondering why they give the more affluent neighborhoods courtesy of being further out in the ocean, not just because we don't want to look at them or see them, because if it was so good for the earth, I can eat the visualness of it, but it's not. When you are this close to the shore, that's where the marine life breeding grounds are. That's where they mate. That's reproducing. That's where they, you know, they get their food. That's where fishing happens. So, you know, the further out they are, I think they're less environmentally impactful, but the large scale of this is just alarming. And no matter what size they are or how far they are, I think we really need to just take a look at what's going on in our beautiful ocean. Somebody sent me these slides today, and this is just another slide of like, they had an opportunity, and one of the alternative routes was to go into Lido Beach, and I'm not saying I want the wires anywhere, I'm just saying there were other alternatives. To Lido, they could have cut across the golf course and then made a straight path over here. So these are the wetlands, and when we asked John Bendo why didn't they go through the water, because we have our sewer running through here, like what is the big deal? They said, oh, there was just too much red tape. And they were worried about their environment. I'm like, well, what about our environment? Like, do people have the right to have their environment conserved as well? So this is just pointing out that there were other major alternatives and the reasons why they were denied. This one was particularly something that I mentioned before, that Jones Beach alternative was a failure because of, the Jones Beach alternative had water depth issues. So, and oh yeah, that's what I want to point out. The state park agreement would be required. So many of you in this room already know we've gone to city council meetings, and our city council initiated a bill for home rule to Senator Canzanori Fitzpatrick, and she put the bill on the table, but she held it because she didn't, you know, she was just gathering the gravity of what the bill meant, and during this time was receiving a lot of pushback from the residents, and the bill ultimately was taken out of her hands by a senator in Brooklyn. He copied and pasted it, put it in his own bill, and it was just some really backhand, underhanded deal that happened. So the gist of it is that Long Beach does have home rule now, but the problem with that is, so it sounds good, like Long Beach is in control of what happens here, but it was protected park land, and this reason, state park agreement, these state park agreements are very, very difficult to obtain. And by opening up this Pandora of trying to get home rule in order to alienate this land, this is something that could be very hurtful to our community. It could be potentially devastating. And then this is just my supporting statement saying that Long Beach was a barrier island and it's an extremely busy recreational beach associated with boardwalk, and there's little undeveloped land. This was just their supporting statements why they didn't go through Long Beach back for that other project. Just the overview of the cables again. So this is the Island Park Pops. This is where Pops used to be. This was the land that was acquired by Eleanor, and this is a visual that they are proposing as a substation. This wall will be what they say 60 feet high, but you might have some latitude because that might not include the elevation for hurricanes, and it could fluctuate. This is what they think the view will be. I took this from the Island Park presentation. And then this is an overhead of the substation. Things that I'd like to note are that this is the nursing home rehabilitation center right there on Long Beach Road. So all of these components will be 100 to 200 feet from these residential homes are not luxury housing. This is affordable housing, and these people are going to be forced not only for a visual impact, but there's going to be a huge sound impact as well. And everybody knows in nursing homes there's nothing but electronics and machines, and so one has to wonder if all of this is going to interfere with medical equipment. They'll also have lightning cables, so this is something that another visual on what lightning cables will look like, so that if lightning comes down it won't destroy the plant and blow it up. And this is one of the neighbors in Island Park. This is her mom's house, and this is just to show you how very close to the substation homes would be. They say that you might not see it, but 0.7 miles, only partially visible, but all of these homes will have a frontline visual to this new substation. So this one is to support the sound. So this here in the core will be 65 to 75 decibels, and as you move further away from the core, the sound will lessen, but as you can see here, you'll still hear humming noises in Long Beach, and this is probably very not generous. We all know that we could hear sounds from Patty McGee's in the summer. We could hear music. I live over close to the beach, and I used to hear Patty McGee's music. So I'm pretty sure we're all going to hear that sound. But I was also wondering, what does 70, 75 decibels mean, like in reality? And this is just the humming, because the construction noises will be in the over 100s. So I Googled it and I found this chart. So what is 70 decibels? That's what I was asking. So 70 decibels is like a dishwasher or a washing machine. 80 is like the kitchen blender. When I turn my smoothie on, my husband runs out of the kitchen. So that's what some people will be hearing. The people closest to the core will hear that blender all day. And it's known fact that 80 plus decibels or 70 plus over 24 hours causes hearing loss. And when you lose your hearing, you don't get it back. It doesn't regenerate. So another slide here is from OSHA, and this is what construction workers have to abide by. If they get around 80 to 85 decibels, that's anything below this is permissible, or they have to have headgear on. Are they going to give all of the residents headgear for the rest of their lives, and what about during construction? And yeah, what about the residents? That's what this slide is about. So this slide is about where the power is going. So notice we're here in Long Beach, you go through here, you go over to Island Park, it's going to go to the Barrett substation, and then all of the power is going to go all over New York, and not 1 ounce of it's going to come back to us. So we're just the vein. So let's talk about the turbines. How big is a turbine? So each turbine will have 951 feet above the sea level. So that's about the size of the Empire State Building, and that's just one of them. These 3 turbine blades will go from the beach to the bay if you line them up one behind the other. There won't be just one of these, there will be 200 of these in the first project and 700 behind that one. So this one here is just a demonstration. Everybody knows the wind turbine we got in Point Lookout. Everybody's happy, green, yay. This is that turbine over here. This is what we're getting, and 200 of those. Yep. So also at Equinor, they tried to say in the very beginning stages, they've definitely changed their tune, and they are very forward about, you will see these turbines from the land, but they tried this curvature of the ocean you wouldn't see in the horizon. But this is the state of Florida, so the curvature of the world, it's not the impact here. So here we go. This is just an example. Here's a visual. This is in Blackpool, England. These sit about 16 miles offshore. These are only 7 megawatts. Ours will be 18 megawatts. And ours will be 300 feet taller than each one of these. Just giving you some visuals. So they also have this slide in their presentation. This is a 6-foot-tall person on the beach. And these are at 14 miles, 17 miles, 20 miles. But they don't look very invasive like this when there's 5 of them, right? So I mean, I literally copied and pasted these 3. And I put 200 there so you can see what your visual will look like. There's exactly 200 of these turbines here. So from the water, that will be our view for the rest of our lives. And just to give you another visual, this I took with my iPhone about a month ago for my last presentation. There's a human. This over here is Long Branch. This is the New Jersey Highland building, and it's 253 feet high, and it's 21.48 miles away. Our turbines will be 951 feet tall and only 14 miles away. You will have a perfect visual of every one of these turbines. And then just another visual. This is Long Beach. This is the Empire State Building, 20 miles away. We all know we can see the Empire State Building, the lights of the Empire State Building from Long Beach. And then that's just my supporting statements, 2,227. And don't forget the night. We will have red and white blinking lights all night for the rest of our lives. They say that they will have, airplane traffic. They'll go off until the airplanes come, but we live next to Kennedy, LaGuardia. Airplanes are passing by all the time. Another thing is that ships, when they go into these turbines, if they lose their navigation or fog, they can't go in there and save them. So the fishermen could be in danger with all of this in here. This is just a visual of a substation. Substations are built with pylons, plowed deep into the seabed, and this is how the turbines will be installed through another monopile, and then on top of here, the turbine will be placed like it's encased over that. And this is what a substation will look like. And there will be 2 of these in the ocean, and although they have confirmed that the onshore substations will not use water to cool those, they have also confirmed that offshore substations will use ocean water to cool them, and that water will be worse than if there were a nuclear power plant out there. Our water temperatures here will increase. So let's talk about why some of the communities want this. Community benefits. By the way of community benefits package. Out east they got 170 million in community benefits, so it looks very enticing. And then Equinor put up posts that they pledged 264 million to our South Shore here. But if you break it down, 109 million for the cost of doing business. 8 million in property tax over the years, and then it'll break down to 15 million for the village of Island Park and for Long Beach to split. So it'll be about 7.5 million per municipality. Is that worth it? That's for you guys to say. That's just this was Congressman D'Esposito's breakdown of it, and it's basically the same thing as the slide before. So I just want to give you a visual of what kind of machines will be coming on our shores. You'll have these diggers cutting the trenches, trailer arms, suction pumps, sand in hoppers. These machines are enormous and loud. This is just a visual of how large one of these monopiles are next to human beings. They're enormous, and again, we'll be having these giant onshore cranes that will bring equipment out to sea. So we asked for our city council to give us some education, and they brought us the CCE, which is the Citizens Campaign for the Environment, and they also brought the Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Adrian Esposito, who happens to be on the Long Beach page, was the front runner and claims that she brought experts to the council meeting, and she brought about 200 of her friends to support onshore wind, calling it union jobs, but we don't really know how many union people will actually be getting jobs. And these guys here, each one of them claimed at some point admitted that they're not experts, and it was also discovered that the CCE accepts money from offshore wind in the form of donations, so that's why they're pro-wind. Recently, at the last meeting, as a matter of fact, Equinor came in and said that more than 50% of the people in Long Beach, the residents, were in support of offshore wind, but they lied. Well, they said they did a survey, so we investigated and asked, what was your survey like? What kind of questions, what kind of education did the residents have? The survey was of 300 people, and they never showed us what kinds of questions were asked on the survey. If you go on the Article 7, where people, residents, and anybody can go on and write comments, we did our own math, and it's 74% oppose, 8.7 no opinion, and 3.4 were in support, and this is documented. Oh, by the way, we also have, we're approaching 6,000 signatures on our petition, so we have many, many people who another form of community outreach from Equinor, a billion-dollar company, is this how they reached out to Oceanside. They did this in a pretzel store in Rockville Center with about 20 or 30 people. Notice no visuals, a couple of pamphlets. This is what a billion-dollar company calls community outreach. It's appalling. And this right here is the Article 7. I just want to, so this link is on our page here. As a resident of this community, of any shore community, if you're interested in saving the environment or conserving the environment, you can go on here still, and you just click here to the party list, and there'll be a button, request for party status, and you can put your name on there and become part of the party, even still today. So there was a deadline, but there's more people coming on. So don't be shy. If you're interested in getting involved and you want to, have your say, you can still do this. And then there's some call to actions. I'll talk about that more at the end. I'm just trying to be courteous of your time.
Okay.
So go ahead, Tim.
All right, I just want to recognize some of our local legislators that have joined us tonight. We have a representative from United States Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, John Byrne, right here. A representative from Bruce Blakeman, Nassau County Executive, Christopher Boyle, right here.
Yeah, there you go.
We also have Tom Doheny, I'm sorry. Town of Hempstead had a conservation. Also, New York State Senator Patricia Kanzler Fitzpatrick, if you'd like to come up and say a few words.
I'd also like to invite Assemblyman Arizona to come up with me. Congressman and the Assemblyman, we've been working as a team on this because we believe very strongly in in the fact that this is not what the community wants, that this is not something that has been handled properly. Equinor is the company that is behind this. They are, as you've heard, a Norway company. They are not a US company. We actually just through the Assemblyman's diligent research, we found out that they were fined $10 million in Iran for bribing government officials. This is the company that they've invited into our community. And that is something that I have a very bad taste in my mouth about. But I will tell you that the Assemblyman and I have met with Equinor, we have met with their lobbyists, we have asked so many of the questions that have been posed about the effects on the marine life, why dead whales show up on our coast in both New York and in New Jersey. We've asked about the EMF, we've asked about studies that prove that this isn't going to the health of our residents. We haven't even touched on what potentially the value decrease in our property values will be, because who will want to buy a home that's within 150 feet of buried lines? It was touched on very briefly. Initially, the Long Beach City Council requested a home rule, which requested that the state legislature authorize them to alienate parkland. And I've on the record, and we've talked about this, Long Beach requested it, they pulled it, they requested it, they pulled it, they requested it. They have flip-flopped more times than I can tell you. And I think that that alone is an indication that they're not well organized, that they're not in touch with their community, that they don't know truly what's best for everybody. And we've had a very difficult time trying to be their representative. But the Assemblyman and I'm sorry to keep speaking for you, but we absolutely held this bill because we knew Equinor was not doing their job. And as was alluded to, Senator from Brooklyn hijacked my bill, and in an unprecedented act, he took my bill and proposed it. And the Democrat-controlled legislature, Senate, passed that bill over my objection. We debated that bill for over 2 hours. They passed it anyway. They didn't care that they were not being represented, that they were not listening to the residents that were going to be directly affected by this. So I will tell you, and I know you've been very patient, you've listened for a very lengthy presentation about a lot of details, but I will tell you that we are absolutely not giving up. The governor has not signed this bill yet. I expect that she will, but we have asked her not to. I can tell you that we are on top of this. We are working with the congressman at every level of government, and we have met even with Long Beach City Council because we are not happy with some of the presentations they have made. They have been disparaging to me, and I will take my lumps with them. I was actually told, and excuse my mouth, but I was told to get my ass to a Long Beach City Council meeting. And I'm sorry, but that's extremely disrespectful to do that to your state senator. I don't see them coming up to Albany to talk to me, to have a conversation, to share with me if they want me to show up at their meeting. That I think is very disrespectful, and it's not representing your constituents, which is absolutely what I continue to do. You know, I know that there was an indication that Todd Kaminsky was part of this, and you know I replaced him. I will tell you that when that letter was put in, and when that letter was put in by Mayor McGinty, who I think is doing the right thing, he did not realize that this was going to be through Long Beach and through the Barrier Island the way it is. But I will tell you that the mayor is absolutely cooperating with what's going on. He has not issued permits to Equinor. They did it in a sneaky way. They put in a permit under a different company, and then when they figured it out, the village pulled it. So I will tell you that everybody is very unified in making sure that Equinor comes to the table and does what's right for the residents. My door is open. I continue to be a representative for you, and I truly am honored to be your senator, and this has been an interesting battle, to say the least. It's not over by any stretch, and I will tell you that, as I said, we are working together to hear your concerns, and I'll turn it over to the
Thank you, Senator. Christine. Christine, Tim, Michelle, you guys, amazing what you do. It's the effort you put in is really outstanding, and thank you all of us. Thank you, Mayor Pappas, for hosting us here today as well. I grew up on Long Island, and you know how we know we're on the right side of history? Because conservative, Republican, Democrat, liberal, we're all together. We're all on the same page. It has nothing to do with politics. We're in favor of renewable energy. We're not in favor of it. You don't come into a Long Islanders community and with a New York City mindset and put this into our communities. And that's what we're all about. We're all Long Islanders, and they just don't get it. When I question the assembly sponsor, do you even know where Island Park is? Do you even know where Long Beach is? Who's the mayor? Anything. Nothing. It was a big, they're giving us the middle finger, you know, figuratively and actually, and saying we're going to do it because we want to do it. And there's nothing to do with renewable energy. There's nothing to do with that. There's a lot of money that was passed around here. I tell this quick little story and I'll tell it to you. I don't typically stay in the assembly on the Sabbath. I can't travel, I can't do anything. But I said, you know what? The last week, I'm going to sleep in my office and not tell anybody I'm there. Because I know they would think that the lobbyists say, oh, Ari's not going to be there. We'll try to do maneuvering. Friday night, I go into the assembly because we were there through the night. Sure enough, all the lobbyists were there trying to make deals with the Democrats. We blocked it, and they kept it, brought us back 2 weeks later. Why 2 weeks later? Because the bucks were being passed around to all of the Democrats who said, Ari, we'd never go along with it. All but 6 assembly people voted for this project. And I told each and every one of them, I'm not going to forget and I'm going to remember. And guess what? These socialists who put up this bill, and 100 years ago when 4 socialists were expelled from the assembly for being socialists, they're now proud of being socialists. They stand there and they say to their fellow Democrats, you don't toe the line, we're going to kick you out. And this is what we're up against. And it's not just locally, it's throughout our country. These Democrats, socialists want to bring transgender into our school and influence our children, take away parental rights, bring all of this nonsense into our communities, under our feet, electromagnetic fields, and really destroy the value of our homes and destroy the lives of our children. Not going to let it happen. Just to leave you with this last thought. We have this great team. Patricia and I, the senator and I, and Anthony, the congressman, we speak almost every day or text 1,000 times a day on what we're going to do. And we're working together to bring a lawsuit or several lawsuits into play. Woo-hoo. And we're going to fight this. And we have other big companies backing us to fight it this way. We have the full assembly, both minority conferences in the Senate and the Assembly completely on our side, fighting this fight, doing research as we stand, how we can show that these were unjust votes that are going to be taken, and what we can do to stall this. The governor hasn't signed anything yet. I'm sure she wants to, but this is going to be a fight. She thinks she had a hard time on cashless bail. Wait till she sees what's going to happen with this. So I thank you.
What's the name of the bill? What's the name of the bill?
The bill.
The actual name of this bill is Screw Long Island. I think that was. So, thank you all for everything you do for us each and every day. We're going to keep fighting. And not just, like politicians say, we're going to keep fighting. You know, we're going to say it exactly the way it is. We're not going to let go for any reason. They want to vote for us, you want to vote for us, it doesn't matter. We're going to do what's right by Long Islanders and the Brooklyn people. They can just take a hike if they don't like it. So thank you.
Woohoo! Introduce Kelly.
So, for our second speaker, we're going to have Kim Martinson come up. She's going to speak on behalf of...
Hi, Kelly.
How are you guys? So my name is Kelly Martinson. I'm speaking super quick on EMF. So first, I just want to tell you, anything I got, I did not pull off Google. I don't believe in Google. I used to be a researcher. I go straight to PubMed. So anything I bring to you, I promise is high science, and it's pretty hard for them to fight. In different meetings, they've tried to go against me, and they haven't won. The other thing I got my information from is directly from their appendix. So FF is their appendix on their Article 7, where they list everything that they think is going to happen in regards to EMF. So that's where it's coming from. So the first thing that you'll notice in their appendix is they say in 2007, the IARC and the WHO say that EMF is not harmful to humans. And you know what? They're not lying. They did say that in 2007. The thing that they forgot to put in their Article 7 is that in 2011, they reclassified that statement, and they actually say that it is possibly carcinogenic to humans, a class 2B. So that's nowhere in their appendix, which is S.o.s. The other thing they always say is EMF is everywhere. There's 0.2 to 3 milligauss per house. That's how they measure EMF. They measure it by milligauss, right? So 0.2 to 3 milligauss in every house. This cable lands at Riverside Beach, depending on the different configurations, anywhere from 25 milligauss to 80 milligauss. That's at Riverside Beach. At the substation in Island Park, it's anywhere from 50 to 90 milligauss. One thing I want to point out is that the research documents that I'm going to show you indicate that even a little bit of an increase in EMF in a household will change your health outcome. So the first one that's irrefutable is the link between childhood leukemia and also fetal impact. So those are the two studies. There's 8 billion I could show you, but I wanted to get you the best of the best. So the first one, and also, I also want to advise you, do your own research. You don't have to believe me, don't believe anybody. But if you're researching, this is what I would tell you to do. Get the most recent study you can find. Narrow your search, pick one thing. I picked childhood leukemia first and just looked at that. Make sure your source is pristine. Don't go to Google, go right to PubMed where medical journals are all, in there. Really important is check for sponsors, right? Who sponsored the trial? If the trial is sponsored by Pfizer, ICNIRP, that's not what you want. You want unsponsored studies. Then even contact the author, which I've done. So in the childhood leukemia meta-analysis, this was a really big one. It came out it printed at one point in March 2022. So that's super recent. The exposure to magnetic fields in childhood leukemia, it was a review and a meta-analysis going back as far as 1970s. They reviewed every study, the studies that said it did, the studies that said it didn't. They took 36,000 children that were diagnosed with childhood leukemia. And in the end, in this 42-page meta-analysis, they found a statistically significant association between exposure to ELF, extremely low frequency EMF, and childhood leukemia. They also found that there was a dose response. It showed that children exposed to as little as 0.2 Tesla, which would be 2 milligauss, had a 1.2% times higher odds of having childhood leukemia. Altogether, without that 0.4, with just altogether radiation up from 1.2 to 2.3, there's a 2-fold increase in childhood leukemia. So that was that study. So why is this picture up here? Because that's Riverside Beach. And so who goes to Riverside Beach in the summer? Well, anybody who wants to go to a surf camp or hang out. Who brings their first child to Riverside Beach? The woman who's on her way to having her second child. So this is, and I want to also say, I'm not even on the route. The reason I'm so obsessed with this topic is because I care that much about humans. I think that this is a crime to pull this cable through a town, a real crime. So the next thing I looked at, because I was looking at EMF and leukemia, and I'm like, why children? Why is it so clear with children? And I'm like, oh, their cells aren't developed. Their DNA can be easily cleaved. So then I thought, well, who else is not developed yet? And that's obviously the fetuses. So there was another meta-analysis with a lot of studies, and it pulled out 6 studies, which was really interesting. These studies were in India. Why is that interesting? Because they didn't include rich people EMF with cell phones, and these were just power line based EMF exposures. And what they found was with people who had residences near high voltage power lines with EMFs of more than 1 milligauss, they saw an impact on fetal development. They also looked at they saw a 3.95 times significant increase in placental apoptosis. So obviously a pregnant woman can't continue to grow that baby in a womb if there's a placental apoptosis. Apoptosis is cell death. They found a lot of other things, 5-fold increase in central nervous system disorders, spina bifida, clubfoot. They found a lot of different things within this meta-analysis. When they pooled it all together, and it's a large number, they found that women who had increased exposure to 4 milligus or higher were 14, their children were 14 times more likely to develop all cancers over 4 years. The result of the study showed the residence period of time was more than 4 years before and after birth, so it was after birth, so the young child as their cells are developing, and also risk of leukemia and brain tumors, because they were also looking at cell phone data in this large meta-analysis. So there's just such a strong link. So the big thing to know about this study is the authors weren't like, stop it, everybody turn off the lights, this is ridiculous. But what they did say is the World Health Organization cannot continue with their 2011 guidelines. That if they don't change these guidelines, that there are, even the littlest bit of enhancement of exposure to EMF could lead to unacceptable health consequences for future generations. They state it's a significant environmental danger for pregnant women. So that's pretty much my stuff. This was just, if you have questions, that's my own EMF reader at home. And yes, they're gonna tell you, look, that's red. You put it up next to your cell phone charger, it's red. And yes, it's cumulative. Do I avoid my cell phone? No, I'll be on it in 2 seconds. But do I unplug things? Sure. I just try to lower my own in-house EMF exposure. I put my phone on speaker. There's little things you can do. I don't get crazy. I'm also 53. I'm not having a baby. I don't have young kids. But any questions? You can ask me. No? That's it.
Thanks, Kelly. Okay, all right, guys, I'm not gonna take too much more of your time. I just wanna close it out with a little extra things that are important. I tried to make sure that the first part of my presentation was all about, what is actually going on. And I just wanna finish off with some data and just recognizing for me the most important part, which is the marine life and the ocean's ecosystem. So I'm just gonna go.
Slide back on call to action, or is it in this packet?
It's gonna come at the end of this one again too. I put it on both because I knew I was gonna gloss over it and try to get to the next thing. Sorry. Okay, so this is my part 2. I'm the last speaker, so hopefully I'll get you guys out of here pretty quick. So I'm going to talk about the efficiency of the turbines, the sovereignty of the nation, the cost of the electricity, how we got here, and the marine life issues is only 35. The last one was 60. So I just brought this slide up to show you that we have what's called fixed and floating turbines all around America. The fixed ones are all in yellow and the floating are in blue. Notice that the West Coast only has blue, and that's because their sea level is much deeper than ours, and to put these floating turbines out is much more expensive. So if you put them further out, it will cost these billion-dollar companies a little more money. Also want to point out that what Mr. Brown said, that these are all foreign government owned: Germany, Denmark, China, the United Kingdom, France, and most of these companies are oil companies or previous oil companies that have rebranded themselves as Big Wind. This calls into question our nation's sovereignty. Like, why would we want to get our energy from a foreign government? I don't know what's going on here. So as far as the efficiency of the wind turbines operate at speeds between 8 miles and 31 miles. It takes you have to be at least 8 miles for it to start, and the wind doesn't just start pushing them. They're like cars. They're jump started like a car, they're turbines. So all of this time that you're using 13.7, 25.5 miles per hour, you're getting 75%. You have to get all the way to 31 miles an hour before you're putting out 100% of the power. And then it, at 100% of the power from 31 to 55, that's all the speed of wind you can have at 100%. At 55, you have to shut them off before they get down. So only 40% of the time the turbines will produce maximum output. And the average wind speed in Long Beach is 9 to 13 miles. So this is the evolution of a wind turbine. Of course, they started with windmills, but they don't make it, these are not electronically operated and don't use fossil fuels. And now they're up this big. This is 15, again, ours is 18 megawatts. And just to show you perspective, you need 200 of these to match the output of a small nuclear power plant. And I want to talk about electricity. Your rates, they admit right out of the gate, your electricity rates will go up immediately. This was 2021. This is 11 cents a kilowatt in America, 36 cents a kilowatt in the UK, and now just 1 year later, we are at 18 cents in the United States, and they are at 52 cents. In France, in one day, they had their energy prices went up 25 times. And they say that we need to do these because of global warming and rising sea levels. This is a picture of the Statue of Liberty 100 years ago, and this is today. Also, well, this is just the rundown of what Senator Kenzanori Fitzpatrick spoke about, so I'm not going to go over that again. That's just the timeline. But what we are trying to accomplish is to save the climate, the global warming. So here you go. If we put all of these turbines in the ocean, we will save our degrees by the year 2050 by 0.0003%. We will improve the climate. And then by the year 2100, we'll save it by 0.0007%. So what I'm trying to say is there's like a net zero gain. We're going to do all of this and we're not gaining anything. I just want to point out that the UK powers, they were using wind turbines. They're all the way down to using 2% power from wind, because everybody keeps saying, look at the UK, look at the UK. Well, the UK is failing. 2%. And then we also have Sweden, this is just from June 24th, this is last week. Sweden abandons 100% renewable energy goal as a policy. They shut down all the wind turbines, they're going to nuclear and hydro. So, and then also Germany has taken down their plans and they're making way for to expand coal mines. They're building, in China, they're building 2 coal plants a day. So, not that I want coal, I'm not saying that I do, I'm just saying, when people say to you, look at the UK, go ahead, look at the UK. A wind turbine is a factory, it is not a farm, it is industrialization of our ocean. I just put this up here just to show you that we are not the only group that is in opposition to these turbines. There are 30 or 40 different elected officials in Jersey who are actively fighting this. Jeff Andrew is like the main leader there. But all of these groups, there's 10, 15, 20, 60. The Jersey group has 500,000 signatures on their petition. So there's a lot of opposition to this. We're not alone. I just wanted, this is a visual that we created. We have these in flyer format that we give out on the boardwalk, just to show you that they're not as green as you think, and there's a lot of there's a lot of whale deaths. We're up to, I think, 50-something whale deaths and over 300 dolphin and porpoise deaths. We'll talk about why in a second. They talk about not shutting down fossil fuels, that the carbon footprint is bad and we need to improve that in our atmosphere. Well, there's a component of turbines and substations, sulfur hexafluoride, also known as SF6. It is 25,000 more potent than CO2, and it will stay in the atmosphere for 3,200 years. It is the most lethal carcinogen known on the earth, and this uses it 24 hours, 7 days a week. It cannot operate without it. And the substations also use it. I already spoke about the utility bills, 18 to 40%. They will be raising up, 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 and up. So you won't be buying iPhones anymore. You'll be paying for your energy. So this is just briefly about the fishing industry. Fishermen have already been reporting that there's a reducing clams in fish. Areas where there was a lot of fish in breeding, they're down 3 to 15%. And the New Jersey losses in fish is up to already 25% in Atlantic City. So we hear this all the time on the television. It's ship strikes. It's ship strikes. Well, my husband pointed this out the other day. He's like, look at those ships out there. Look how fast they're going out there. But what's actually happening is that these companies are using ships to do seismic surveys. They use sonar so they can map the ocean floor. Some say they're mapping it for the turbines. And remember, these are oil companies. So remember, they could be mapping for oil too. But regardless, they use this sonar, and all fish communicate with echolocation. They understand spatial relationships. They find their food, and they also understand the problem with noise. So when these sonar blasts hit the water, they either get scared and run away and will do anything to get away from their predator, or they get disoriented, and yes, they'll run into a ship. So these companies are saying that they're ship strikes, but why are they running into ships? They never did this before, and now all of a sudden they're doing this in mass. So just wanted to explain a ship strike. And I just also want to point out this, that even, so let's just say we get through the whole sonar mapping thing, these turbines will be having noise 24 hours, 365 days a week. They will definitely be interrupting the ecosystem in the ocean for eternity. They will affect their migratory patterns, their feeding, their breeding. So this was at my last presentation. This humpback whale died on May 18th. And it wasn't me, but then when the Art Geiger sent out a map of all of the sonar ships, all of these ships were in the water blasting sonar. This is a list of all the whales up to May 19th that have died and beached. So it's just a tremendous amount of beautiful marine mammal deaths that are happening. Sorry. Okay, so I just want to explain what an incidental take is. So the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and NOAA issues a list on behalf of these. They actually give permission to these companies to either harass or kill a certain amount of marine life in order to get this work done. This time they gave them over 600,000 takes, which means that 311% of the northern right whales could be killed. So they're allowed to kill every single northern right whale on the planet, which is an endangered species. This is their newest list. Also, Art Geiger created this. He's pretty acute about this. And this just goes into the stock size, how many takes there were, and how many is left in this species. And it's amazing. There's thousands and thousands of takes that are going unreported. Oh, by the way, Equinor says they do not have any takes at all, 0. And the expert at the Long Beach meeting said, well, you don't understand what a take is. It's not just a murder. You can have a take if you go into the area and you redirect a dolphin or a whale. That's also considered a take. We just saw them on Laurelton just the other day, and those dolphins moved closer to the beach. Did they report the take? No, they're not reporting any takes, and there is no oversight, so they're getting away with everything. And this was just a chart from May 19th, the large whales, there was 41 deaths, and the dolphins and porpoises, 243. Those numbers are higher now. And these companies also say that it wasn't them, that they just started this now, but that's a lie. This is from 2016, and they're saying they're doing surveys for a picture of the Long Beach whale that washed up in Atlantic Beach. It's all decomposed. Sometimes they get pushed to the ocean, they get pushed down, and then they resurface decomposed. You know, they're hardly identifiable, but there's a lot of ways to hide them. So where are all the environmental organizations? Where are all the people, Save the Whales, all of these organizations, there's so many of them. Well, this is a list, it's called conflict of interest, and every single person on, every single company on this list has received money from offshore wind. And it's a 17-page document, it's on our group page, and you can see here that the New England Aquarium, they received $250,000. You can look through all of this. There's $50,000 for the Delaware Center for the Inland Bays. Surfrider used to be extremely environmental friendly and actually put out a statement prior to 2019 saying that if it's not this, it could be that. Completely against offshore wind, and recently they are supporters. Wonder what happened.
That's right, Surfrider Foundation. You heard it right here.
This is our lovely Jennifer DuPont. She stood right here a couple of months ago and exclaimed how she hated birds.
Wow.
And she's a marine biologist. But worse than that, there's a conflict of interest. She's on the board of director she works for AMSES, which is the Atlantic Marine Conservation Society, and she does necropsies on the whales. She did necropsies on the whale here in Long Beach, but she's also working for Equinor. So
DuPont.
take what you want from that. And I put the bird slide right after her just for fun. In Poland and in parts of the UK, they're already revealing that there's a severe decline in birds. So some of our friends call these bird blenders. They're collisions with the birds, the migratory patterns, breeding patterns, all of that is being disrupted. So if you don't think that it's affecting the environment, it is, and I'm environmentally friendly. I want the earth to be good, but I also want to conserve our environment. And this is just more statistics about the different things that are happening to the birds. Decreased population, collisions are happening, significant loss of habitats, mortalities by collisions, and the more windmills, the more issues. So these are also in our pamphlets. This is all of the oils that each substation will use. This is 18,000 gallons, 52,000 gallons, 79,000 gallons. This is each substation, and then this is each turbine will use. And look here, 243 pounds of sulfur hexafluoride. The carcinogen I spoke about just briefly. Diesel oil, dielectric, gear oil, not to mention the ships that they're going to use with the diesel oil, the helicopters they're going to use. So what is it that we're saving? Where's the fossil fuel savings? And just remember, 5,500 turbines, and Equinor only talks about 147 of them when they come to town. They don't talk about the expansive, massive project. Something else I want to mention that not everybody's talking about is that each of these turbine blades, they're pretty massive, and inside the turbine blades they're made with balsa wood, and balsa is taken from the Amazon, and they're knocking down those forests and they don't regenerate themselves. So we're killing the rainforests in the Amazon, and on the outside of them it's fiberglass, and they're made also with precious metals, which are also strip mined in the Congo with child and slave labor.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
Green, clean, not so much. And then I made this list of myself of all the pros and cons, and I couldn't really find any pros other than the billionaire shareholders will get richer, and then all of these cons. But this here is a picture of fiberglass shards. So when these turbine blades, have inclement weather, hail, any types of issues, this will go into our ocean. Our fish will eat the fiberglass and the metals, and then we will eat the fish. And also, this is going to start washing up on our shore. I hope the El Beach cleanup people are ready, because that's what they're going to be cleaning up. And then at some point, maybe our beaches won't be swimmable because it's toxic with these materials. But that's just for your viewing pleasure. And then I'm not going to go sit in here, but this was just a slide to show off our Lloyd aquifer. It's very delicate. We need to consider and do some research on what kind of damage it could do to that. And wind is renewable, but turbines are not. And these turbine blades are not decomposable. They end up in places like Sweetwater, Texas, and they take up a giant footprint. There are small companies that have just started recycling them, but there's just not enough. Like, they couldn't possibly keep up with it. There's so many of these that are just buried in the earth, and that's it. That's the end of it. Says save the planet does not mean destroy the ocean. This was the whale that beached in Long Beach. Just wanted to show you how terribly decomposed it was. Never too late to do the right thing. This is just some of the stuff that's on our Facebook group. Bonnie Brady is, she's head of the fishing industry, anti-fishing wind lobby. She's brilliant. She tells you the whole story. It's in our feature tab in our Facebook page. This is an online petition we have, but every Sunday we go out and we do a bike ride on Magnolia and Lincoln or someplace on the boardwalk, and we're collecting by hand all of those signatures. This is a lawn sign we sell for $10 that Mike makes wherever he is, and you can put them in front of your lawn to show your support. And this here is an amazing study on infrasound and low frequency noise, and I highly suggest anybody who's concerned about the noise, you know, that noise can hit your house and go past your house and inside of your house, and you don't hear it, but it affects your body and your ears and your oculars in negative ways. These are our shirts that we sew. And there's your call to action slide again. I'll just leave that up there. And thank you everybody for coming.
Real quick, I'd like to thank Mayor Pappas for having us today. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. And it's now up to you to go out and be that force multiplier and educate others. And go to the city council meetings, please. A new voice is vitally important. They hear my voice every 2 weeks, Catherine's voice. We need new voices. We need new voices to go up to the podium and express your discontent with this.
We don't want to keep you here for a Q&A, but we're going to be here. You can ask us questions. If you have a question that you think it would be relevant, everybody can hear it.
Well, one thing you didn't touch on was when they made their presentation, Equinor made the presentation, the question was asked, how long do these turbines last? And they said,
it's 20 to 30 years.
20 to 30 years.
And there is a plan for taking them down, but it will be on the taxpayers' back.
There you go.
The answer to that question. Anybody else?
So with all this copious amount of research and studies you've done, has Equinor and everyone involved made any attempt to have they seen it? Have they responded to this research?
They don't respond to me personally, but every time we talk about something, they'll put it in their Equinor Energizer. We put it in the Herald. They put a whole booklet in the Herald. You know, they're responding in their way. They'll put stuff up on their Facebook page. They have sent a couple of emails, but they're not really being good neighbors. They've held presentations in Island Park and in Long Beach at the Alegria Hotel, but they put up these stations where you're all divided and separated and you can't hear each other's questions. And I know when I came here, everybody was went one by row. You did this, one by row, one by one, people asked questions, and just sitting there hearing other people's questions were the best way that I learned, and it really gave me a lot of information to go forward. But they took that out of the equation and just put up these little stations where they controlled each one of you, and you didn't hear each other talk. So it was it was a divide and conquer tactic, and that's what they're using going forward. They've been doing that in all their presentations going forward. They're not having a legitimate Q&A. That was the last one. They didn't like that.
How many percentage, like what percentage of the citizens in New Jersey was able to stop this?
They actually had a loss recently. They're trying to stop it, and they have a lot of elected officials with them. But everybody says, what is the thing that can stop it? It's groundswell. It's you talking to your neighbors. It's your neighbors talking to other neighbors. It's coming to city council meetings and being vocal about your opposition, about letting them know that you don't want this, that you want your house the way it is, your view, your environment, and your culture, just the way it was. Michelle?
So you were just talking about the 147 turbines. What about the 600 or 700 behind that? Has it been said where those cables are going to land yet?
Yeah, that's another thing. No, they haven't spoken about where those cables are, but we are terrified that, you know, they picked this route in Long Beach, going up Lincoln Boulevard, but they have all these alternative routes, and I asked Equinor, can you add other wires to this route? And they said, oh no, once you have a route, you can't use that route anymore. I said, but can you use other alternatives? Yes, you can. So once they open the vein in our beautiful barrier island, it might not be you down here right now, but maybe they'll go up Laurelton, maybe they'll come up Bay Street, maybe they'll just use another vein.
End point, right here at Silver Point. Perfect
Yeah,
entrance
Silver
right into
Point,
the-
you just never know. So they don't, they can't use exactly what they have open, but they can just use another artery.
Can't we have a rally of some sort?
Well, we're trying to get on the page. When we do these little presentations, we're having Hands on the Beach on Saturdays on Lincoln Boulevard, and Jersey's joining along. Well, it's actually their event that we're joining along. You can come out, you can get petition signed. If you live in buildings or little neighborhoods, you can get petition signed and turn them into us and add to our, you know, it seems to me that the petition signatures is one of the only thing that's gotten elected officials' attention. Because we had zero support 2.5 months ago. Nobody would talk to us, nobody would look at us. No, these fine people are here. Ari Brown is still here, you know. So we are getting some attention because we're putting the work in.
Can I make a comment rather than ask a question?
Sure.
My name's Kevin Kelly, I live at Atlantic Beach. So I'm a retired journalist and a former journalist and professor as well. I'm not on anybody's payroll, I'm not being paid by Equinor or by environmental groups. I have done a lot of work around environmental issues as a journalist. I try to be balanced, I try to be open-minded, I try to be thorough in my research. I don't take a partisan stand on these questions, but you're being presented something here that makes it seem as if it's just some kind of nefarious plot to make Long Beach an unhealthy environment. Okay, I can't finish, so there's no point. Did I interrupt anybody? Did I interrupt this speaker?
I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, thank you. Finish. I realize it's a hostile audience, but I give the courtesy of listening to people whose point of view I don't agree with. Maybe you could extend the same courtesy to me? Is that possible? So, a presentation like this would be done in regards to fossil fuels. That would be scarier because we're living right now through a climate emergency. This is
World
not...
ended last month.
Guys, listen, let him finish. Just
Let the man
we don't
finish.
behave that way in these buildings. We all give each other respect.
Keep going.
I did a story in 1980, possibly 1981, interviewed a NASA scientist named James Hansen, who's actually pretty well known, who was warning then about the results of putting carbon dioxide into the environment. Then it was theoretical. It made some sense as a theory that it's going to create a greenhouse effect, the Earth will get warmer. It's no longer theoretical. You saw the orange skies not long ago in Atlantic Beach, in Long Island, especially in New York City. It's at our doorsteps. We talk about future generations, about providing for your children and your grandchildren. Fossil fuel generation, which will continue if we don't have alternative energy sources. I'm not here to defend Equinor. I'm not here to say this is like a great project. I'm here to say you have to wean yourself from fossil fuels. You have to stop burning fuels that cause untold damage to the environment and to human health, to your children, your grandchildren. The planet, folks, is going to become basically uninhabitable if we continue on this same course. This may not be the right way to go, but it's so loaded to say that this is some plot that's being forced upon you by really evil-minded. Can I finish? I'll be finished in 1 minute, and you can say anything you want to me. It's being foisted by some evil, horrible international conspiracy to make your life miserable. I don't think that's how it works. I think these people have basically good intentions about trying to find an alternative to the course that we're on, which is leading us. I need to tell you how the Earth is being affected by burning of forests, by flooding. It's getting worse every day, okay? This is not something that I'm making up. I mean, you can see this in your own lives. You live on a barrier island. I mean, we're very vulnerable here. We're very open to the possibility of being harmed in a most immediate, much more immediate than from Equinor way, by fossil fuels. If your concern is about your children, about the environment, you should also be rallying against continued use of fossil fuels, including the E.F. Barrett plant in Island Park, which produces enormous amounts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
So in the UK, there was a study that showed that after they put up the, because these do use fuels, and after they put these turbines are they kill habitats, and they're not efficient, and they actually I don't know about nuclear enough, but they say 1 copan of nuclear can power up for almost, I don't know how many years, the whole Long Island, where this would be, it would take 200 and it wouldn't even.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need alternative sources of energy, but I think there are other alternatives. You don't have to use wind turbines. That's my personal opinion. Anybody else?
Yeah, and we all know that fusion power is on its way in not too long a time, and so as we take steps towards clean energy, which I'm sure if I asked everyone who's interested in saving, conserving all these energies and not polluting and saving, everyone would be for it, for alternative energies, but wind power is not the alternative energy that we need. There will be other ones to come, and it won't be immediate.
Right, someone could be inventing one right now.
I just am curious, who owns the ocean?
That's my question. I think to myself, does the federal government have the right to take our ocean and give it to a foreign government to make money off of us? I don't think so. And I think we need to get together and start protecting the rights of nature. The rights of nature, they can't protect themselves. We are stewards of the planet and we have to protect them.
Right.
Can I say something real
Sure.
quick? I appreciate your comments over there, but to say that they have good intentions, Equinor, they don't have good intentions. If they're coming in and bribing our clergy people, they come into our churches and they're actually trying to give money. They try to give money to a church to build so they can get their support, and they're not being upfront with us. And why is that? Because they're hiding stuff, and it's something. This technology is obsolete already, as far as I'm concerned. It's invasive. And it's obsolete, and it doesn't belong in the ocean. Why would you destroy an environment to try to save the environment? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your comments, but we need people like you to get on our side here, because this community is going to look very different when they industrialize it. There's going to be power plants all over the place. There's going to be wires running on our feet. I'm scared for my children. I don't know where you live. Where do you live, sir?
On the street, about 3 blocks.
Okay, well, we're right by the wire. These people are going right past. We have young children, we have young mothers. These EMF studies are solid. They're solid studies. And they're not studies that were done they're studied by real scientists. So, it's something that we're worried about, and it's real.
I just say that your children and you are being poisoned right now by burning fossil fuels.
Listen, our fossil fuels in this country have gone down tremendously since the Industrial Revolution. And not only that, but we're about 13%, and you can look it up. You can look it up on Google. We're 13% of the world of global warming. If you're going to do anything, if anything happens around here, we're going to lower emissions. It's got to be China. It's got to be India. We're not going to do anything. We're going to be 13% of that.
We're all
Richard, sure, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanna add something to what the gentleman said. I'm from Island Park. I'm active in the Island Park community. The E.F. Barrett plant is a major polluter, extreme polluter of Island Park. It has been for many, many decades. For the last 15 years, our community has been fighting National Grid and NIPA concerning the plant. And I gotta say, we had no support from any elected representatives in our battle. And we lost the battle when Nassau County settled with them. And that plant is still polluting us. So I just want to add to that. But I want to thank you for your presentation. I want to add some additional facts that I'm aware of that I think might be useful. I believe the principal damage to marine mammals is when they start pile driving the wind turbines. The survey work I personally don't believe is a major factor. And it's already been completed. It was completed a couple of years ago with respect to Equinor. They're still doing some minor work close by. But the real danger is coming when they start installing the wind turbines, which they've just started in South Fork, but they're going to start in Equinor in a couple of years. That's when we really have to be concerned. And I don't believe personally that the air bubble ring that they're proposing to use is going to protect the marine environment. So that's where I would suggest you direct your energies. And you could make a difference because there's still an opportunity, there's still time for them to force them to change the way in which they're going to install those wind turbines if it gets approved. So that, I would encourage people to focus on that particular factor. And the other thing I want to stress is, you know, I've been working on this for a long time. I believe the best strategy to actually get something done is through Article 7, is through the proceeding that's ongoing now. And that's, decisions are being made there that could impact, you know, change things on this project. So that's where people really need to direct their energies. And you know, frankly, I don't see enough of that happening, especially from our elected representatives who are, to me, engaged in more of a political strategy rather than an effective strategy, which should be centered in getting something done in Article 7.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you off there. I'm gonna say the Article 7 is, as I said, it's easy to get onto, but it's difficult to understand. Mr. Sherman's a lawyer, so he understands all of the legalese, and that, as a human being who doesn't have your background, I'm struggling to get into that paperwork.
The town of Hempstead, the Village of Island Park, Nassau County are represented in Article 7. They're participating. They're you know.
But they're
they're
not
lawyers
to be the mom on Broadway with my two
you
kids
should,
in my house and my
you
business.
should advocate to Bruce Blakeman, to Don Clayton, and let your views be known to them, and tell them what you want, and tell them to direct their lawyers to do this or that or whatever. That is how you need to direct it at this point, in my opinion, and it can be done. And the town of Hempstead is participating very actively. They just recently filed some comments. Yeah, so county participating. You know, these are your elected representatives who are currently involved in getting something done.
Okay, I agree with you about that, but I think it's a little discouraging when we actually have an elected representative here and you go after them. We just got them here and we need their support, but you're telling them they're not doing enough. They're here now. Let's let them know what we need and let them go forward.
They're making material misrepresentations, in my opinion, concerning what happened in the past. And
That's your opinion.
That is my opinion. And I happen to believe that they have a political strategy which they are executing,
As do you.
which is not necessarily an effective strategy, in my opinion. It won't get the job done. It's focused on making a political
Your focus
statement
is a community
rather than
benefits
getting
package.
something
You
done.
did it from the money from the start.
For example, he represented. He didn't represent the true facts concerning what happened in Long Beach City Council. They had a hearing about the home rule. They had a whole hearing. You spoke. Many hundreds of people spoke, and they voted on that bill. So it was the will of the people. They wanted that done.
That's not true. I was at that meeting, and there were people there in mass discouraging them from doing the home rule. They said they needed to do it to protect us. They lied to us. They said, yeah, go watch the tape. It's on March 7th. March 7th. Go watch the tape.
Let me just.
We fought them that night. All of us
The city
did.
of Long Beach voted on that. They voted on that, and they directed Patricia Candiani to take the bill up.
No need to
and
debate.
she
We
sat on
need
the
an
bill
organization.
as a political strategy, and it's wrong.
Let me clarify just for a moment. Patricia and I can't be part of the Article 7 proceedings for a number of legal reasons. So with respect, you're incorrect. As far as Long Beach is concerned, and I'll tell you firsthand because Ron Walsh and John Bendo called me personally. I didn't hear it. Ari, put in the bill, pull the bill, put in the bill, pull the bill. Friday night, we're begging you, pull the bill and read this statement to everybody. 4 times it happened. Yes.
Tell the reason why it happened.
Why are you yelling at him?
Let me finish.
Seriously.
Yo, let me finish. You know, politician I'm not. But there is a way to get this done, and it's going to be together as a community, not with politics. Whatever their rationale in Long Beach, I don't know what it is, but 4 times they went back and forth to listen to everybody here. You guys want it? I'm here to support it. And I'll give you a little example. I'm still a deputy mayor in my village of Cedarhurst. I've been running my business district for a quarter of a century. I had an idea of putting in another 10 parking spaces in my village, but it was near people's homes. I notified the neighbors, and the neighbors said, you know, Harry, we really don't want it. No problem. That's what you want. You're living there. I'm not living on that block. And that's what this is about. You want it, we'll do it. If you don't want it, but I have to tell you, out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of residents that have called, not one person said that they want this.
That's right.
And that's doing the world.
Rich, why don't you explain to us what you think is going on, man?
Okay, sure. What happened was.
And let's not interrupt them, I want to hear it.
Okay, sure. So the city council presented their idea, which is the home rule, in order to take control of the situation so that they could have a say in, you know, where it landed. Right? They explained it to everyone. They explained what their strategy was, okay? And they said that they needed to do this. And they explained that if they didn't do this, the state could take it up through other means. Then there was a debate. Many people spoke, okay? Many people were thankful to the council. Many people were, and other people weren't. They voted on it. They voted to pass the resolution for home rule. Okay, it was the voice of the people expressed through the city council. Okay, they gave the bill to their senator as it's done, right? And then the Republican strategists came up with a plan. They said, we will hold this bill and we will use it as an opportunity to embarrass the Democrats. Because they sold.
I'm just lying.
I'm not lying. I've spoken to people. And what they had, they developed a strategy to hold the bill.
Excuse me.
And
Everyone was invited here.
misrepresent
This
what
is
the bill was
supposed to
about.
be an informative meeting. You can take your debate someplace else. We had the wind turbine people here, and we're having the other side. I know what's going on, so I think if there's a couple more questions, I think you made a point.
Yeah.
Rich, I just want to say one thing. Why? Hold on.
Frankly, I support this.
Hold on. I just want to say one thing. Why would they take home rule if they weren't expecting to go through with this process? It doesn't. What? Okay. We saw that this was going to go through Lita, right? We saw that. Town of Hempstead didn't take home rule.
No. A large part of it is because they wanted to be compensated if it was going to happen. That's obvious.
But if they,
nobody disputes that. That's primarily what it was about. But they wanted to control the process.
Without telling the residents. We didn't know about it until March, Rich. We didn't know anything. What's that?
Yeah, we found out a week before the hearing.
They weren't upfront.
That was a respectful request to end this debate. I really think we should honor that. I really do. But I just want to make one very brief comment about Equinor. They are not a renewable energy company. They are a multi-billion-dollar oil and gas company. As a matter of fact, right on the website, it states in 2026, 95% of their energy production will come from oil and gas. This whole wind project is a fire for them, and they're not doing a very good job of it. As a matter of fact, they pulled out of Ireland in 2021, and it just ended a major project in Norway, their home country, in May of this year. So that's who Equinor is. I just want to make sure.
It's not unusual. Equinor is one of the largest oil
Make
companies
that
in the
statement,
world.
Rich, I'm not
Every major oil company is investing in offshore wind. It's not so unusual.
I just want to say back in 2006, when Equinor was formerly known as Battle Island, they were investigated by the SEC for bribery, bribing officials in Iran.
Yes, Mr. Brown mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's one of the largest oil companies in the world. It's just like BP. It's just like Exxon.
Right, and everyone was against LNG, shouldn't have against the consolidation behind the house.
Well, they're building them other places.
Let me just finish up by saying this. In my opinion, hold on. In my opinion, the only way this is going to get stopped is through groundswell, through one guy telling another, through petitions, through going to city council meetings. Okay, that's the only way this is going to get done. That's how we move the needle. Okay, we move the needle by getting almost 6,000 petitions. By being persistent, going to the city council meeting every two weeks. You know, getting in front of people, you know, talking to people on the boardwalk. And I wanna have sometimes 2 hours a week, every Sunday, to go on the beach at 10 o'clock and get more petitions. That's how this is gonna get done. You know, Article 7, yes, that, you know, maybe there's a, you know, a legal avenue there, okay, but it's we the people. We the people are gonna get this done.
Woo, woo.
We create enough groundswell, it will get done.
And what's our alternative?
I have a question.
Nuclear? Are we going to nuclear?
You've asked me to sign the petition,
Yeah.
and I've not signed it yet, because I'm
Okay.
still on the fence.
Okay.
But I do have a question. My question is, if the cable did not go through Long Beach and went through the Reynolds Channel,
Yeah.
and the project was moved farther offshore, would you still be against it?
Yes.
Because it's going to fail. It's destined to fail.
I'm just asking, if you got everything to make it more environmentally friendly.
You can.
This is like Kevin said, it's ancient history. This technology it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
It's a complete failure that's going to cost a lot of money and kill a lot of people and a lot of animals.
I read the article says at the start, and here I heard in the backyards, the article 7 says it's absolutely. So I'm still on the fence. But I was very appreciative to get a little bit of view about some of the issues. Look at your, you see the YouTube video they put out on what it looks like in the system. Yeah. Great, could be more. So it's very hard. The city is trying to figure out how to make it easier. Should I be pushing for more revenue, or should I be pushing against it? So I'm thinking that maybe there's an opportunity for the community aware to get wind production and do it from Denmark. They don't do the solar wind farms there. They do there. It's successful there.
United. We got to get united. We have to have like.
Thank you too. Yours was fabulous.
I gotta get going.
Let me go.
No, we should hear.
Yeah, this stuff.
So I'm going to explain 2 weeks before that, the same assembly person got up with their not on our time bill, which literally says destroy the Jewish people in the state of Israel. That was the bill. That was the bill, and we spoke out against it.
There is no body that's more supportive of Jews than the New State Assembly.
Son, you're way out of base.
Yeah, I'm
That's crap.
We all have got
You know
to
why
start
it's crap?
agreeing.
The no bail bill. The no bail bill is going to kill more Jews than anyone. The no bail bill from that. Really? Now you're going to attack my Italians?
Yeah, move on.
We all just have to agree. We have to agree. We have to take a deep breath and we have to stay united.
They should have left the Democrat
Sure. What
Socialist.
news are you?
Nothing to do with energy.
Yes.
Really? Oh, I
Yeah.
would love to give a Newsmax interview.
It's just, not everybody's going to say the right thing every time.
I don't care. You can do whatever you want. You
You have to elect all the people, whether they're Democrat or Republican.
Yeah.
By saying that and one thing in
about them
Yeah.
has nothing to do with this.
But the real thing is us being united, you know, and
But then you unite, you don't start
and then we get
separating us against them.
right, and then we come up with like an alternative that works for everyone, you know.
At a meeting about wind farms. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's so dumb.
Yeah, that was.
It's ridiculous. He's pushing his agenda. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I don't know how everyone sees that. How do you not see that? He's clearly pushing his agenda. It's so obvious. He's a moron. He's a moron.
So you want to say that you
I've been working on it for years. I'm giants of the data processors. We've been working on this project for years. We've been involved in this. We're representing the community.